Hey, I'm Amy Cerny Vasterling, and I want to talk today about how the model and spiritual practice do not work together. They can work together, but I want to point out so that we're clear where the model invades things like spiritual practice. There is nothing wrong with spiritual practice. There's nothing wrong with just about anything to some degree, but it's how we behave with it. And there's a current trend that's been going on, maybe at least I've seen it a decade to a decade and a half, where people will say, I do this or I do that. And that is posturing in the model. So let's talk about the model a little bit, which is two forms of control. I mean, really, it's a bunch of forms of control, a bunch of posturing in ways to assert that we have more clout, more know-how than others within certain things. And I know by hearing that, you might think, I don't feel that way about myself. But that's the problem with the model, is it's so invasive. It's so deep within our, I'm going to say cultures, that we don't see what we're doing. It's the status quo. And what feeds the status quo is us continuing to posture in the model so that we perpetuate this back and forth. We could say, as an example, but this is a little hard to take in, that there's good and bad, right? That sets the stage for these two dynamics. And some spiritual people will say, we're born to a contrast. That's what we're doing. And rightfully so, but right now we are at this massive apex of that contrast. And what I see by watching the patterns for 22 years is we are moving well beyond that patterning and out of that contrast into a complete state of expansion, which I don't want you to think that's scary. It is what you have been waiting for. It's why you buckled into this life and are here. That is, to me, a massive shift that's going to be really powerful and amazing for so many people, because on its heels or with it bring things like my work, but also the work of many people, I'm certain, who will come out of the I don't know, the woodwork, who have done similar things that I've done and watched and built a case for things we didn't or weren't open to understanding until now. And my work results in natural equality. I mean, it's not what we think it is, but it's powerful, right? That is powerful. Okay, so let's get to yoga and meditation and a cacao ceremony and so on. Here's the thing about it is, if you have to tell people about it or sell them on it or want them to join you through persuasion, you are inside the model with that practice. And while you might be getting the benefit of settling down, you aren't really being with the practice for yourself and doing the inner relationship with it that it cultivates. That is the beauty of a practice like that. It's an extra benefit that it tones our muscles, that it relaxes our body and nervous system. All of those are extra benefits, right? But the point of it is that it's ours. And beyond that, we know that we know it is ours when we don't overtly share it. And we don't really share it unless it comes up. And even then, we might not. A little example of this is I have a friend who grew up in Asia, and she's a Buddhist. I've been to her house. I've probably seen a little Buddhist altar, a little bit of decoration in her home signaling she's a Buddhist. But it never dawned on me, and it didn't matter for our relationship, either direction. And I've known her 25 years, and we were having a phone conversation. And she said something came up that was a really powerful moment to say this. And she said, I'm a Buddhist. And in this scenario we were talking about, she said, nobody ever really talks about the Buddhists. And then we talked about that. But the point being, she knew when to bring it up because she knows who she is within that. It's not, and I don't mean any offense, but it's not a trend or a way to do or a way to look at how good I look or how well I can pose or how many poses I did. That's all about the model. And really, a practice in this way is about you relating to it on your own and having nothing to prove, tell, boast, or to, even withhold. Like, I'm not going to talk to these people about that. And you know what? I'm not above this. The reason I knew how to figure out all these postures is I've done them all. I've done them all. Right? Every time I see somebody who's struggling with something, I think, "Oh, I did that. I did that too. I tried it all on. I did it all." That's how I learned this. And I watched it being done to me, and I wanted out of that cycle. And I think a lot of people want out of that cycle. It's not about the effort you go to try and be, in this case, let's say spiritual or the best performer. It's how much you apply yourself to being who you are, which, let's face it, that's a scary thing and the scarier thing. But the good news is the energy's on your side for this. We're ready. And we need you to be who you are. That sounds so trite, and I hear myself. But in truth, we do, because that's how our world will truly shine. Okay, I hope this has given you a little bit of insight on what that means with the model, and also applying ourselves to the idea of how we might posture in something that actually is really helpful to us, but it becomes something manufactured and made and pushed at because of our own insecurity or our own need and hunger to be seen and acknowledged and heard. That's not the way to go about it. If you shine at what you or who you are and what you do and how you do it, instead of modeling after somebody else's business or their way of thinking or doing it their way, that's what's going to undeniably move you into what is truly a magic life. All right. Remember, together we collapse narcissism, and let's do it because in truth, it serves no one.